Record. Good to go? All right, we're gonna call the meeting to order. We have an amended meeting agenda. It got amended a couple hours ago. Can go over that with you guys here quickly if there's a question on why. It's Tuesday, March 16th at 6 o'clock. And we get a receipt of evidence and proper notice. All right, take your time.
The evidence of notice of county board agenda and amended agenda packet. County Board of Supervisors March 16th meeting notice and agenda was posted in the Government Center building in 2 places, posted on the county website on Friday, March 5th, 2021, and was published in a legal newspaper the week of March 8th, 2021. In addition, on March 5th, 2021 at 3:32 p.m., the Office of the County Clerk distributed copies of such notice to media via email and to supervisors via email or mail. The notice of amended agenda was posted in the Government Center on the county website, and copies of such notice of meeting were distributed to the supervisors and media via email at 3:55 p.m. on Tuesday, March 16th, 2021.
Malia, does this constitute as a proper notice?
It does. The amended agenda falls under 19.84 sub 3 when it is impractical to give at least 24 hours notice. And this particular topic is the Clam Falls Dam, and there was I guess, an urgent deadline that we needed to at least have the county board have a discussion today. So I found that there was good cause. And so that notice was provided at least 2 hours before this meeting. And it's, I believe, just added to the committee of the whole for a general discussion.
Okay, thank you. Approval of the agenda. We have a motion.
I so move approval as presented along
We have a second to that.
A second.
Second. All in favor by saying aye.
with. Aye.
Agreed. Number 7, matters offered for
Going back
adoption.
to the roll call.
Did I miss roll call? I missed the whole bunch. I already crossed it all off.
Hey, the first thing.
I was told to hurry up tonight.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, we should do a roll call. That's probably right.
Brad Olson.
Here.
Doug Rowdy.
Here.
Steve Morndall.
Here.
Chris Nelson.
Here.
Tracy LeBlanc. Here. Dan Rook.
Here.
Mike Pritchard.
Here.
Karen Kelly. Here. Tim O'Connell. Amy Middleton.
Here.
Jay Luke.
Here.
Fran Duncanson. Here. Russ Arkand. John Bonaprise.
Present.
Joe Demeling.
Here. I'd like to say good to see you, Kim, again.
Mr. Chair, you want to lead a pledge of allegiance?
Go ahead, John. We'll have you do that.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Number 5. Anyone has that, just raise their hand. Approval, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
We did.
We got that. So how did you let me get that far? We're going to keep the approval as it was earlier approved. 7, matters offered for adoption of the consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve that?
So move.
Second, Luke. Any discussion? All in favor by saying aye?
Aye.
Carried. Public comments. Yeah, do we have any public comments?
No public comment.
Okay, one other, no public comments. We will move on. County Board Chairs Report. I guess one of the things we're going to talk about it under our Committee of the Whole. It's about the Clam Falls Dam. So I've been involved in a couple meetings this month and I want to talk to you guys about. And I guess the other thing that was something this month was the fact that everyone's aware that there's been a lawsuit filed against the county for the Stour Trail. There seems to be a lot of public phone calls and even townships have reached out to me this month. It seems like a lot of questions. We had it brought up at PTAG too. Of really not knowing really what's going on. And I guess I just want to make sure the public's aware that the county has hired Von Briesen. I think it's a very reputable firm. They are handling the case. We have a corporation counsel that's on top of this. And I think my job as the chair is to follow county policy. And the county policy has been trying for 15 years to let other people use the trail. We voted to let people use the trail. The county is full steam ahead to defend this issue. And there'll be more notice later. There may have to be a closed session later on this. But I just want to assure the public that we are going to work very, very hard for the public to make this the trail that the public has asked us to do, and we won't give up on this case. All the resources are there to defend us. And the other thing I think I need to update is we had some discussions this month about our tourism. We had it in one of our committees, and it's a kind of a sad day in Polk County when we fund the tourism about this year $75,000. And the tourism president actually, after the county board passed the policy to open up the Stour Trail, the president of the tourism council tried to undermine our policy. And he was our former county board chair. And he went to his, the non-motorized trail commission that the governor has appointed this individual to. And he actually made a motion in that meeting to ask the DNR to basically tear up our MOU with them and not allow the trail to be used as the county board has requested it. So it's clearly something we're going to have to address at a county board, that the amount of funding we give the tourism, and then yet they are not promoting the tourism and county policy. So we discussed it in one of our committees. We're certainly going to have to address this at future time when budget season comes around, and I will get that on an agenda and we'll bring it up again. I just wanted everyone to realize this has happened. Sent him a letter. He did respond to it, but really did not respond. And I'll just leave it at that. That's all I have for the chair's report.
May I ask a
Yeah, there's
council
questions.
one question?
Yes.
On Judge Lack, how do you pronounce it? Lack or Lack?
Black?
What I read today, did he have in there that he would have this settled within 30 days?
No.
He had something in there that it's out about a time.
The only timeline that was discussed was the March 31st deadline. If there had to be a true injunction hearing, because March 31st, snowmobiles would not be an option anyway.
Yeah,
after
that was written in there.
Yeah, but there's no other. I believe there are two lawsuits. One is the Friends of the Stour versus the county and two other plaintiffs. And the other one is the Friends of the Stour versus the DNR. We've intervened in that one, so now we have two cases. They're going to track together, generally speaking, even though they're different causes of action. We have to file our record So that means the record of the information the county had regarding the plan, put that in the court, everybody has to agree. I mean, if I were a guessing woman, I would say, you know, this is going to take several months before there's any type of.
Thank you.
And we will give county board updates on this and discussion. Supervisor Arcan?
I would ask if we've hired a law firm to defend us, are our costs recoverable?
It depends. In one of the actions, there is a fee shifting. But we would have to, it's a very high burden. And the likelihood of getting a fee shifting is not very high.
Even for frivolous lawsuits?
Well, that would be the burden. And the question is whether this is frivolous. And I'm not going to say publicly anything on whether or not we would make that argument.
I did Supervisor Arcan. I referred to it as the O'Connell question. I spoke for Supervisor O'Connell and I asked the same questions. And we'll hear more about this later because it's in, I've been told to carry a really short truth stick and not talk too much, even though that's hard for me to not tell you the truth. But I've been advised to, so I'm going to leave it at that.
Boy, good.
I'm trying, Jay.
That's tough for you.
It is, very.
Well, Mr. Chair,
There's a lot of questions you guys have for me on my chair's report tonight, John.
I believe the question about filing for is always after a trial. That's the next step.
We'll get to all these questions. We're gonna have an opportunity to talk to council before this gets too far down the road. Okay, that's the county chair's report, administrator's report.
Thank you. Bit of good news. Our 2020 tax collections are finally in and counted. They had totaled about $3.95 million in sales tax. That's 11% increase over last year. That's about 500,000 over our projection. It's significant because obviously it was the year of COVID. And while we were cutting expenses and making sure we were doing all we can because we didn't know which direction we'd go, but it suggests a couple of things: an increase in visitors, local investments, movement of folks from the cities up to their cabins or up to this type of living environment. All those things are going to be important as we go forward, as we think about the future of the county and what types of programs, investments, activities that we do. We have talked a little bit about the Stour, so I won't go over the legal stuff again, other than to say, well, first of all, regarding the Stour Trail development, we at the county have been implementing the master plan in terms of getting it ready. We are virtually there. The last step is merely putting on the signs. We won't put the signs up yet to discuss the new activities, but we will in the very near future to inform the public of what's going to be allowed. As mentioned, the judge did put a pause on any actions at this point till the end of the season, which is March 31st. We do feel good about what we're going and hopefully get some resolution this summer so that this fall we'll be able to do that. Regarding trails, the staff has reviewed MOUs that are related to trails. And what we found is that many of those memorandums of understanding are very old, have not been reviewed or updated in years. And so as a policy, we are going to implement kind of a new policy when it comes to MOUs to make sure that staff, legal counsel, and the participants review and update and re-sign every year. We have some as old as 1994, and we haven't looked at, I'm sure, in a decade. So we are reviewing those, and just for the public, memorandums of understanding on trails is if some group, organization, people want to work with the county to maintain the trail, keep it clean or whatever, or provide some type of help along there, you can, but for liability reasons, we have to sign an agreement understand what the responsibilities are of each, and we'll just update those on a yearly basis. And certainly we encourage that. Anyone, any group out there that wants to be involved in trails and helping, they can contact the county, specifically Ben Elfelt, and our environmental services person will be a good contact to do. First of all, or lastly, I want to say our Parks and Trails revised department is up and running. And I'm very excited about this. I've mentioned it before, but the two folks who were working at the lime quarry are now working in the Public Safety, Public Works Division, in the Parks and Trails Division. The public and you all are going to see some significant improvements, I think, in the appearance, the utilization, the facilities at our parks and trails. You're going to start seeing that as early as this spring and summer. I'm excited about that.
We finished up number 7.
Are you just teasing me, John? We're on 12 now. If I went all the way to 12 without finishing something.
I'm confused on number 7.
So we're on the amended notice.
Approved all those
We
items.
approved all those. We just did them as consent.
Oh, okay. Excuse me.
12, we got our COVID update. Tanya's going to do that again. Thanks, Tanya.
Hey, everybody. Okay, so quick update. With regard to vaccination clinics, I do have some numbers for you guys. Since we started January 28th with our first drive-through clinic at Polk County, with our partnership with Burnett County, we have provided 3,945 first and second doses of vaccine. 2,696 are first doses and 1,249 are the second doses. This week, we're doing 200 first doses tomorrow and 300 second doses on Thursday. Clinics have been going very well. Lots of positive feedback on those. We improve every time. So we've been enjoying doing that and serving the public. With regard to countywide, with all of the vaccinator sites in the county, 20% of our population has been vaccinated with their first dose. That number is 8,751 people, with second doses at 10.9%, 4,700, approximately 4,700 people have received their second dose. Of those numbers, about 66.5% of our 65 plus group has been vaccinated. So that's a very good sign that we're getting our most vulnerable people vaccinated. 33% of those have had their second dose and are on their way to having that 2-week after immunity period. Other numbers with regards to positivity, we are switching over to the state's reporting system just with sample sizes and that with our local reporting. We're finding that all of the counties in the area are switching over to state reporting. And with that, our county positivity rate is 5.6% overall of our population. State's rate is 2.2%. So definitely going way down from where we have been in the past. I know that that's made our work here at the county a lot easier to be able to switch over to the vaccine efforts that we're doing. We've had 47 deaths, unfortunately, so far with the COVID pandemic. And right now we just have 2 people in the hospital. A quick word on the mask mandate. There currently is a mask mandate. It doesn't matter if you're vaccinated or not or fully vaccinated. They still want us wearing the masks. I believe it expires on March 20th. And I haven't heard if or how that will be extended through emergency order or executive order. So I'm not sure on that piece. But CDC does continue to recommend the wearing of masks. And with fully covering your nose and mouth, unless you're speaking and needing to be able to be understood when you're talking. But they do say that because it actually protects you from spreading it to somebody else. So even if you are fully vaccinated, there's not enough evidence out there right now that says you might not still be carrying it and potentially spreading it to somebody else. That's about it. New groups opening up Monday. So basically everybody is going to be eligible starting on Monday. So we expect another big bubble in our demand for vaccine. And we will just whatever we get from the states, we will be vaccinating as many as we can until our demand decreases, and we will look at then farming them out to the local hospitals and other vaccinator sites.
Tanya, any questions for Tanya?
How's our volunteer corps? Are we good? Do we need more?
Our volunteer corps has been tremendous. We have a great group of volunteers. I know that there's been several board members who volunteer on a regular basis, and we thank them for that. Our volunteer base is about 165 volunteers. We have 55 that come and see us every week and are diligent about coming and working those 2 clinics. We do our first doses on Wednesdays and second doses are on Thursdays. So there's a process. A lot of our vaccinators are retired nurses or other healthcare professionals. We vet them through the Wisconsin Weaver program. Otherwise, if there's flaggers or other volunteers, we just do that locally and get them signed up and trained.
Okay,
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment in reference to the, what's been going on. I often get a lot of comments from people on activities that the county board is involved in. Generally, they're pretty negative. However, in this incidents, your efforts have been, I'm getting calls that just from out of the blue that are so impressed by the way this thing has been going. It's such a smooth operation. They go through the process. They're just as happy as could be. I just wanted to let you know that a lot of favorable comments out there and how this is being handled in Polk County.
Thank you. It's nice to be able to provide that service back to the community. And we are honored to be able to do that through our health department. Thank you.
we have a motion to go into committee of the whole. Dr. Olson, do we have a second?
Second.
And all in favor? Opposed?
Aye.
Is that an aye opposed or an aye to go in, Doug?
I'm not opposed. I hit the mute thing here, and then I think I said it too late, so I'm sorry.
Thank you. Carried. So we're in the committee of the whole. So first one on there, 13, future ownership of Clam Falls Dam. So I just, the legislators, we give everyone a little update. We got approached from a group of people up in Clam Falls. We had a meeting here maybe a month ago with, they have an attorney. They hired an attorney. We met with representatives, Rob and Gay. And we had also on the phone, Mr. Dahlberg from the power company. And there was a discussion about the possibility of the state finding enough money and funding to repair the dam. So they've been under an effort to kind of work on this. One of the questions that came up on this, and Vince and Lee can answer this better, but the question came up is, a lot of things. And it was funding, and the big issue was insurance. And Vince can speak to that, but what I'm hearing is the representatives want to have more than county board chair or administrator say, hey, yeah, we think this is a good idea, keep working on it. So it's something that we're going to need to either draft a letter or send a committee this month and get it back in front of us to vote on it, which we probably have enough time. I just want to give everyone a heads up that it's coming. We got to work on it fairly quickly. What I understand is they want us to kind of lay out a template, and the template right now is that the concept is fine. If the state wants to find the money to fix the dam, I, as the county board chair, says that's a good mark. We like that. The second box to check is Northwestern has reserves in a fund, about $600,000. that would they donate that to the county to put in a reserve account for out years. Said, yeah, that box looks good. If we could do that, I'm sure the county board's in. Township, they're really excited about this. I know everyone is, is the township willing to have township some money thrown into the pot for general maintenance? I said, yeah, that'd be a good box to check. We understand if the dam is removed, the assessed value is going to change. So everyone in that township is going to pay a little bit anyways if the dam comes about because of the assessed value. If we save the dam, that same number could be maybe a special assessment is what they're talking about. That would be ongoing, cover some general maintenance. And then the third piece is how does this thing get insured, which that's the sticking point right now. But so far, everyone seems to be kind of like moving in that direction. But I think our legislators want to know from the county board, is this really something we can stand behind before we get too far in the process? Right now, the state, they're just starting to work on their budgets. So our legislators are actually finding a way to fund this. And I'll let Vince bring up the insurance issue and anything else I might have missed.
Well, you covered a lot of things. I mean, with this comes ownership, and if we own it, we're liable. So we looked into liability insurance and property insurance. So, and I don't have exact numbers yet. The insurance companies are, it's not things that they generally insure, and they're not all excited. We do know that Northwest Electric was paying, we think anyway, been told $15,000 a year for liability insurance. Property insurance, we've heard a range from one insurance carrier, it could be $50,000 to $75,000 a year. But he said, don't quote me until we get the actual numbers in, which might be higher. So that gives you a ballpark figure. I think like Northwest Electric, they did not have the property insurance, so that if something happened, the dam broke and destroyed property, or if the dam got damaged, wouldn't have insurance to pay for it. So, so there are some expenses to that. But as Mr. Nelson mentioned, the state funds the repair to get it at top-notch quality. If we can get a reserve fund, Northwest Electric, that covers a couple of the boxes we need. If the township is willing to put skin in the game, maybe cover some of those maintenance costs. And really the only remaining thing is the cost of insurance, which could be $15,000 if we just went liability insurance, or give or take. And then, what do we do about ownership? And there are some strategies we can do there, but when the board asked a while back, is there a way to put together a package? I'll give credit to all the folks in Clam Falls and their attorney and some other people. And we've been looking for a path forward, so to speak. This may be one if you all are interested.
And the reason I'm bringing it up is I'd like to hear, how do you guys want to address this? I do believe we have a month. I did talk to the attorney today. And I talked to one of the representatives today also about, wanting to know, are we willing to do it? So that the thought is we put some kind of a structure together and a resolution that would say, as long as these conditions are met, I think it gives everyone a path to keep working on it. It can still easily get tripped up. But do we want to send this to a committee to look at it? Do we want to bring it back as a resolution to committee of the whole? So I'm just looking for some input. A discussion only tonight is the only reason we're having it, and get everyone's thoughts. So
Is there someplace we can go to get like background information? I mean, I don't know zilch about the
background,
plan.
I would say talk to the administrator.
Yeah, and there is a lot of background. I mean, it's one thing to say Northwest Electric says, hey, we don't want it anymore, we're going to take it out. Then you got to look at what happens to the flowage. It's not a lake anymore, it's a stream. There are waterfalls there. There are property issues that need to be worked out. So there, as anyone can tell you, there are benefits to take a dam out. There are benefits to keep a dam in. So we're kind of looking at those things now. Question I think Mr. Nelson is asking is, do we want the legislators to go ahead and try to say, can we get something in the budget that would pay for the cost to repair this dam? It may be $1.5–2 million to get it to the highest level that we would want. And I think over the next month, we would have to get a lot of information to all of you to say, does it make sense? His, I think, suggestion is, if we check all these boxes, is it something that we want to pursue? If one of those boxes does not get checked, then in essence, it kind of pulls the Jenga piece of wood out of it and it all tumbles.
And we've had meetings on this for a few years. We've been talking about this. We've had owners of the dam in, we've had the lease people that currently lease the dam in here. We've had lots of meetings on it in a committee. I think we've had some even in committee of the whole, and I don't know, a lot of times things get missed if you're not on those committees, but it's kind of a big deal. And again, if we just take it to committee, unless you pay attention to the committee, you don't know what we're talking about. And so it was, we certainly, I think if we got direction that, hey, go ahead and draft a resolution, not what we think would be an idea of what we think would help the legislators to get this funding. I think our whole goal the whole time is that as the board, we've said we would consider, as long as there was no major risk to the taxpayers, that we would own this thing, and then all of a sudden, we could have $100,000 bills a year or something happen. So, yeah, Joe.
It was, don't quote me, but I thought we voted on this to have no part of it.
No. We voted to have the administrator to work on this. We've never voted. Supervisor Masters tried to have us vote on having no part of it, but that failed.
Correct.
Supervisor
I
Pritchard.
agree with Supervisor Damali. We voted, I think, twice to not get involved.
That's incorrect. All right.
We can look at the minutes. I think it's in there.
Yeah, why don't you get them for us, Mike? Go ahead and pull those minutes up and show us them, because I can tell you right now, you're wrong. Yeah,
May I make a comment?
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I would like to, if I look at, the bigger projects over the years, and this is certainly one of them, and the information that we get, I would like to see at a committee of the whole or the whole county board meeting. If we just have this go to design committee, this is something that we need everybody involved and everybody to get the height of the information that's diligent.
Sure. And I agree with that. I think it shouldn't go, I was hoping someone would recommend that it would come back to committee of the whole.
Even if we have to have a special meeting at times like we.
Sure. Amy?
Well, I think I might kind of riff on what Sharon's talking about, because I feel like I just need a whole bunch of more information. I mean, I don't have anything in front of me. I need to know like different options. I need to know what we're being asked for. Right? If you're asking us for a resolution, that's sort of a feel-good resolution.
No, not a feel good. So what it is that it's it's not a feel good resolution. It's not a resolution saying we're gonna, there's been motions to kill it. You can go back and look, but we've actually made a resolution, and we told the county administrator, Supervisor Pritchard, for him to work on this. That's the resolution that's out there.
I remember that.
Yeah, it's there. And unless you can find something to make accusations that aren't true or I'm not gonna take your question, Mike.
I
I'm talking-
object to the use of accusation.
Yeah, that's what it was. You said, I believe there's a motion that we denied it. I told you that's not true, and you continue to make that accusation.
We could look at the minutes.
That's an accusation. That's what you are saying
No, it
tonight.
isn't. If you want to get verbal about things,
I'm not getting verbal, I'm
using
just
the word
telling
accusation.
you the truth. Just telling you the truth.
I totally disagree with
That's
your
okay.
version of the truth.
That's all right, you can disagree. But Supervisor Middleton, so what we're saying is, we've already said, let's work on a deal. We've already told Vince to work on a deal.
Yeah, and he was gonna bring us something back, so I'm just like.
And this is where we're,
Look at.
so and that's what the resolution would do. If we brought back a resolution that would lay out these boxes of what the county board would be comfortable with, maybe the county board's gonna agree with Supervisor Pritchard. Hey, we're not doing it. We don't want to own the dam. We just want to make sure we tell our legislators that. So far, we've said as a county board, we're interested in it if you can work on a deal. Well, the deal has kind of gone this way over the last couple of years. And now it seems because of new elected representatives that said, hey, we think we can fund this.
But we don't have to figure that out tonight.
No,
Okay.
and we're not going to figure it out tonight. The idea is that the legislators, and even with the resolution, I personally have talked to the administrator that I don't think we should commit to anything. Except if it's, hey, does the county want to, personally, I think the idea is the county doesn't want to spend any money. I'm going to just finish with Amy, Jay. The county says township has to pay for maintenance. The county says the money that Northwestern has can be put in a fund for out years. It's going to be a substantial amount of money to find a way to not have the taxpayers on the hook for the dam, right? So that is the goal of trying to put a deal together. And to me, I think it's gotten to the point now where these things are on the table and I'm not comfortable writing a letter saying, hey, yeah, we would do these things. And I don't think Vince is comfortable to say that yet. So I wanted to come to the board and discuss it and get an idea as if we should bring a resolution with the meat in it at next month. We can choose again. There might be more things we want to add or not add. But next month, have a committee of the whole where we can get the details for you.
But we must have some timeline that, deadline with the state piece. Do we, or do we not? I mean,
Well,
I mean, legislature
it takes them a few
process.
months to put their budget together. So that's what I've understand is they're working on, Jay has certain pots of money she can go get. Rob has other funding that he can get. And so far, they feel confident that they feel like they have a good opportunity to try to fund to pay to fix the dam.
Can I make a comment?
Mr. Luke,
You know, I'm all in favor of finding out what we're talking about. We don't know what we're talking about. Let's see what proposals there are. Now, whatever we need to do to move forward with the state in conjunction with them, or let them come back and let us know what the options are, right? There may be an option out there that the state will come in, rebuild the dam, give us $1,000 a week to patrol out there or some foolish thing. We don't know. We're talking about blue sky now. I'm in favor of getting whatever committee or whatever is necessary for you to go to the state or back to the state and get have them move forward and see what they can come up with. They don't even know what they can come up with yet. So they have something to come back to us about and see what the future of that dam may be. That way we will have an option to decide one way or another.
yeah, and I think the issue, what it comes back to is the township says, you know, there's only one entity that can own the dam. That's the issue, right? Why are we saving it? Because the county is the only entity that could actually hold ownership of the dam.
Right.
So if the county says, hey, we don't want to have ownership on the dam, it's over. So, and one of the reasons we at first were pausing on this whole ownership thing in the very beginning was Northwestern was going to give us this, they've had this fund there to remove the dam. And I'm just guessing it was originally around $700,000. Northwestern had $700,000, and we were briefed on that in multiple meetings here, that the owners of the dam have $700,000 to tear the dam out. And then to do the mitigation and the repair and just remove the dam. Because the power company has actually petitioned the DNR to actually do a drawdown on the lake and remove it. So Northwestern's in the process. The only way this dam will get saved is if the county takes ownership. But I've heard loud and clear, and before I was county board chair, I was sitting there saying, I'm fine to own the dam as long as it doesn't cost the taxpayers money and maintenance fees, right? Why should we all pay? So then it kind of seemed like it was going that direction, right? Because who wants to take ownership of the dam and have that liability all these years? Now, through the legislators, they are saying they think they could find a possibility if the county wants to take ownership of the dam, they feel like they would go to work on finding the funds to rebuild the dam to the DNR standards. There's a standard the DNR says you got to repair the dam for this 500-year flood. I believe that's what it is. And it cost about $1.5 million. And Northwestern says, we don't even get power out of the dam anymore. We're not going to spend $1.5 million to own a dam. So that's why Northwestern is petitioning to just remove it. And they have every right to remove it. They can remove it. So the $1.5 million, that was a hurdle because Northwestern only had $600,000 or $700,000 put towards the fix. Well, they're not going to do that. So the idea now is the state would come in and possibly fund the repairs to meet the DNR standard. And then we would ask that the money that Northwestern has would be given to the county for out years. And the township would need to cover the cost of general maintenance or a rehab district, the Lake District, but there's only about 20 homes on the lake or something like that, that the rehab district would be able to have enough tax dollars raised to do the general maintenance, which was $15,000 to $20,000 or $30,000 a year. So there would be no money coming out of the county general fund or their budget. So that's
The insurance is still.
yeah. So that's why
50 grand a year.
well, that's the question: is how much insurance is there, and is this 600,000 or this 700,000 or whatever pot we get from? Could that be used for insurance?
Can we self-insure?
Yeah, those are the questions. Malia knows that probably, and Vince knows the self-insurance issue. Yeah, we can self-insure, but we would want to carry liability insurance. But we can self-insure, and I think we currently self-insure the other dams that the county owns now. Mr. Warndall.
I guess, we got to think about the end game. The end game is what happens when it needs another rehab. Okay. And like the country dam over there on the Apple River, I mean, who paid? That was before my time, but if it's $1.5 million now to take it out and restore the habitat around it, will it be $3 million then? When this $1.5 million repair, wore out.
We talked about that a little bit too, is that, that would be a thing that you could put into the agreement that, we're not going to hamstring a county board 20, 30 years from now, that if this dam does fail and needs removed, currently the removal cost is approximately $600,000. It's the repair $1.5 million. So if that dam comes out in 20, 30 years from now and a county board says, yeah, we're not going to rebuild it, we got to make sure that that county board could say, yeah, we're going to use those funds we have in this account to just remove it and do the work, right? We don't want to say we have, It's kind of like the grandstand right at the fair. We have a grandstand. We said we were always gonna have a grandstand. And now we're paying 15 grand a year, but new grandstand's $1.5 million, and we're struggling with trying to figure out how do we build a new grandstand, or are we gonna build a grandstand? Same issue.
And the same issue for the people that are upstream on that Apple River is what those people are on the clam. I mean, when they drained it, they used to have water up,
Right.
you know, their property, and now
Over here.
they have a swamp.
Right, exactly.
So I mean, you know, will that be the end result after all this? No, anyway,
Right.
That's a good question. Does Northwestern Wisconsin Electric, that's what you're saying, who owns it right
They own
now?
it now currently.
Do they have that plan for removing it?
Yep.
What's that look like, that remediation? What does it look like?
Go on. I think what someone said, it'd be the second tallest waterfall in the state of Wisconsin. Maybe that was off the cuff, but I heard that from somebody. Fran?
I'm just thinking kind of long term also. So if there's $600,000 or $700,000 turning that, they will be used to pay for insurance. We don't know yet how much that insurance costs, nor do we have any decision about at what level we would insure it. You know, that pot of money isn't going to last forever, certainly. And then somebody's gonna have to pick up the county owns it, the county. Well, on the other hand, who stands to benefit the most from the lake remaining there is the 20 people who live on the lake. It's a huge, huge liability to take on that benefits, from what I can tell, other than the tax base, of course, benefits everyone. It primarily benefits the people who live on the lake and then trickles down somewhat tax base wise to the rest of the people in the county. I think it's asking an awful lot.
Yep, it is. Dan, you had a question.
Yeah, the only thing, and I'm new to this, obviously, the only thing I look at what our county board priorities are, and it's invest in parks, recreation, and tourism. 119 acre lake that will be gone if the dam goes out. We struggle every single day to let waterways be utilized by some of the non-ownership public today. And that is one that is utilized by a lot of the local community members for fishing or ice fishing or recreation, and it'll be gone. And how do you build another 119 acre lake in Polk County? So I don't know all the particulars of the expense, but I think it makes sense for at least to be explored and understand what those end game costs could be and what the risks are. We just went through a whole debacle about providing more public support and more public utilization. There's one right there that we're just willing to throw away. I don't think we should throw it away without at least exploring the next level and taking a look at what those implications are down the road. Whether Northwest is willing to give us their fund, whether we can self-insure, what the liability is. I think we at least owe it to those that utilize that lake and our Polk County residents that like recreation like that to at least explore it. It's not going to cost us anything to do that.
Right.
Can I bring you
John?
up to date a little bit? I had a meeting in Richmond as part of the steering committee. I had a meeting in Richmond with the legislature. That's when Senator Schochner, Rob was the representative then. And just what you said, I was amazed at the outside interest in this. Why there was legislators that had made comments from northern Wisconsin and different parts of Wisconsin about the value of this as a state recreation area, and they're highly interested in northern Wisconsin as a recreation and a tourist area. And they made it clear that they were at the end of the biennium, but they made references as the legislature does repair and take care of dams every year. Some of them are a plus, some of them are a minus. But all the legislators that were there, they were very diligent about in the next biennium, and that is now, that they would bring this up and they would try and get the funding that we need to help us out. So as far as some of the other things, it without the legislature's part, it's dead. But they are pretty excited about what kind of asset that we have in Polk
And
County.
I think that's the idea is how do we structure some kind of, like Jay said, some kind of way to say, yeah, legislator, keep working on it. You know, we're interested in trying to solve this problem, or are we not interested in solving the problem? And the legislators say, yeah, we'll go try, I think we can help you guys. We just got to figure out a way to, how do we give them that support on the county board to say, hey, keep working on it.
They're
I think
gonna
Joe-
be gauging our support.
They're gauging our support. Joe?
Question I always come back to is years ago when we started discussing this, and they were saying about removal. I would like to have Chad check and see what the cost is of removing and redoing the streams and stuff down, because I was told it's in excess of $2 million to take the dam out.
Who were you told that by?
I ain't gonna say, but
We don't, you know, Northwest Electric has not told us what their plan is and how much they're going to spend on
you
it.
got the money.
But I think it is going to be more than what they have in their fund. I mean, 'cause not only do they take it down, but they are gonna have to reclaim that and help get the stream back where it was and so on.
And to follow up, this question I asked too, Joe, so I want to just, I asked that exact same question you did. If Northwestern is proposing that they have this pot of money, right? But we know it's going to cost more than what they say it's going to cost. But in the big picture, if the state's going to come in and fix it, and we can save it, and we can get enough reserves to where the county feels like we're protected, does it really matter?
It does, because you
And
gotta,
I know, but I'm just saying that's the question. They're like, does it really matter when Northwestern gives us 600, 700, a million? Whatever that number is, we can negotiate that at some point with them. You know, I think the ultimate thing for me is I want the people to know the county board is, what I've heard is the county board wants to save this if we can. If someone else wants to say, hey, I'm not gonna put that much money into it, or the state don't have enough, or the town don't put enough in, let someone else kill the deal. You know, I've heard loud and clear, the county board wants to try to find a way to save it. And I want to keep rolling on that path. And I think to roll on that path, we need some direction and a resolution that might lay out a little bit of a structure that we might feel comfortable to keep moving on. So
I have no problem with saving it, but I want to protect the county down the road for all this liability. And I was
absolutely.
told, when Dana's was in here and stuff, it's in excess of $2 million to,
Well, that was more than 2 years ago then.
well,
We're talking 4 years ago. We've been talking about this for 4 years.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
You had said that the county is the only one that can own it. Can the town own it? Is there any reason legally why the town
Yes.
can't?
There's a supervisor in the town.
Don't have enough taxing authority.
In other words, enough taxing authority to support that large of a.
The DNR has to approve ownership of the dam, and
Yeah,
if they don't
yeah.
believe,
They would
The
approve it.
DNR has to approve ownership, and the DNR is going to realistically approve county or an electric company. And outside of that,
Nobody else.
no, you could,
have the income.
well, yeah, and you could be a billionaire, but once you're gone, is the family gonna keep it? Where if a county or an electric company owns it, it's the county or an electric company forever. The town does have a special assessment resolution coming to our April board meeting. We discussed it last week. It would be roughly 2.2% of the evaluation of the town if it was to disappear. So realistically, for every $1,000 of taxes you would pay would go up $22 more if the dam was to disappear for everybody who is there. So I think from the, not speaking for the other two, but from the town board side, I'll say there's more interest in doing something to save it than there has been in the past, now that we're, right down there. The homeowners on it, we'll see that's Town board has pretty much said that's their job to decide how much they want to throw in. But I think by this time next month, we'll know. Yeah, Corporation Council.
What if I were to draft a resolution for general government? Because I think that would be the appropriate committee, because we're talking about county property and funding. And it would have the if this, then yes. And then have that brought back if the general government committee sends it back to next month's county board.
Have the committee shake it out once and then bring it to the committee of the whole next month, that we can all look at it. Are we able to amend that again? If the supervisor wants, we'd be able to amend that again at the county board.
Yeah, if you wanted more assurance from the town or,
Sure.
you know, but at least we could start with that skeleton and have placeholders in there and have the committee make a recommendation so that you have something to either vote up or down.
Sure.
And then, you know, just because of the time frame, so that they would have the political capital to say, look, we've got this resolution from the county board that they're willing if all of these things, and then they can advocate for that funding at the state level.
Joe?
I kind of think we're putting the cart before the horse. Wouldn't it be better to find out what we have to start with before we even make any decisions?
What question, what do you want to find out what you got?
What the legislative is gonna do.
Okay, so the legislators have asked us, the legislators have asked us, if we can go find you the money, are you guys, they don't want to go put all this political capital out there and try to grab a couple $1 million for Polk County. And then in a month from now, or they find the money and we go, huh, what are you guys talking about? We voted not to do it. You know, the legislators have kind of gone this far and they're kind of saying, I think we can find it. Do you want us to keep working on this?
Big word thing.
And we need the county board to say, yeah, keep going. Or does the county board want to vote and say, no, quit? We don't want nothing to do with it.
I think it's clear to have a resolution like she just proposed.
Sure.
And bring it to the county board so we know what we're going. Give the legislators an opportunity to take a look at it. And we have a good faith effort, is all this is amounting.
All it's about.
Good faith effort to go ahead and give them our approval to go ahead because we want to save the dam, basically.
Right.
Legislature leaning on us.
Correct. They're leaning on us. Steve?
I would think that the power company may have a little more money in their coffers. They had to pay to take it out for, let's say it was $1.5 million or $2 million or whatever it is. Why don't we pick them up a little bit with their money? More money the county has, better chances has to stay in there for years.
And I can say, I believe the power company, you know, they could have started this and done a drawdown. Northwestern is trying to find a way to work with everyone to keep this in the community and save the lake. So they could have already gone through this and did the drawdown last year and started going forward. So they are working with us right now. I feel like they are in good faith. So, yeah, Jay.
Isn't it a fact that the state has the heavy oil and water right now and that they're the ones that are coming up with the big dollars in order to get this thing even feasible in the first place? So
Yeah, they don't step
what we're trying
up.
to do is to move it forward to the state.
If they don't step up and the state don't do it, it isn't gonna happen. There's just no way to do it. John?
Yeah, ask Brad a question.
Go ahead.
I don't want to see misinformation come from our county board. They said, isn't there about 45 structures? Somebody mentioned 20.
24, 27 landowners.
Yeah, I think it's about 45. But I heard.
No, I'd go more with 20.
Half of it's in a wildlife area too.
Well, and that's what
Two-thirds of the lake is owned by the DNR.
these legislators, they said, well, how about the fishing? And they're the ones that were telling me more than, they know what's going on and their job as legislators is to find money to protect the resources we have. And it's a resource to protect.
Well, yeah, I think we've had enough discussion about this. What do we need to do in committee of the whole with this anymore, or when we come out of committee of the whole, nothing?
Just refer the matter to general government when we come out of committee of the whole
Okay,
and I will draft and have
and
it.
who refers that to you? Do we need a motion and a second?
You can, I mean, if it's a consensus.
We
and here,
should,
I'll just
we
draft.
should.
We should just have a vote on it.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's on the record for future discussion. Okay, next item on committee of whole, we're gonna do corporation council discussion related to rules of order.
You able to put the power in it?
Yep, I will.
This again won't be a very long one. So, I'm going to have a couple of sessions on rules of order and point out specific things. And so this is the first one of like a series, I think is how we're going to do it. So if you could go to the next slide. Okay, last meeting, we had a couple of points of order. And so I wanted to address what is a point of order. A point of order is when you can interrupt what is happening on the floor because you think we're doing something procedurally wrong or we're violating our own rules. So if at any point, any supervisor can raise point of order. In our county board rules of order, the chairman, in consultation with corporation counsel, rules on points of order. But it doesn't mean you have to agree with the chairman and my advice. So if you believe that we are wrong, and you have a first, I would like to challenge the ruling or appeal the ruling of the chair. It requires a second, so somebody else would have to second that. And then a majority of the county board, if they voted for it, could overturn the chairman's ruling on a point of order. So I just wanted to address that with you because if there's a concern, you know, and a supervisor comes to me afterwards, like, explain this point of order. Why was it this way or that way? You know, in the moment, you can have that debate right here on the floor. Certain times it's debatable, other times it's not debatable. It depends upon what if the underlying motion was a debatable motion, then the appeal of the ruling of the chair is debatable. If the underlying motion was not debatable, then the appeal is not. The other thing I wanted to, before we get to how you delay, amend, or kill matters, I wanted to talk about what being a parliamentarian is. I am not a certified parliamentarian. People go to school for years, they take tests, and there are ways that people can become certified parliamentarians. But in our rules of order, the chairman and the corporate counsel are the ones that are supposed to maintain order. And so again, I won't be offended if you appeal the ruling of the chair, even when I've given the chairman advice on a point of order. So don't feel like it's something the board has the right to do. Okay, so then I wanted to briefly talk about how you can move things through the process. And people use these things interchangeably sometimes, like, oh, I want to table this because they want to address it at a different time. But tabling doesn't instantly stop the debate. Tabling is something that you do when you want to move it to later on. So like, oh, we just got, you know, the presenter came in and we're in the middle of some other debate. Let's table the matter that we're currently talking about until later on in the meeting. And the correct motion is lay it on the table, but people just say table. And then you can address that, basically taking things out of order. And then later on in the meeting, someone would have to move to remove from the table. In other words, bring back debate on what you were debating earlier. If you wanted to stop debate and say, we don't want to address this anymore, that would be a motion to postpone indefinitely. This can't happen at a committee because committees cannot kill resolutions, but it could happen at the county board. So let's say we're debating a controversial resolution and somebody says, I don't think that I want to debate this anymore. It is a privileged motion. So it takes higher precedence over other motions. You have to have a second, there is a debate, but postponing indefinitely is a way to move something off of basically the docket of the county board. It would take another resolution to bring it back at some point in the future. The other things that we can do, or you can do as board members, I'll refer to a committee. Kind of like the Clam Falls Dam issue that you had today, you can decide to refer matters to a committee because you didn't think it was fleshed out enough for the board to take action at the current time, and you want more information. So you can refer it to committee. Again, it needs a second. It is debatable. And you can also postpone to a date certain. And that is something where you just pick the date in the future. Normally, it should be the next scheduled meeting of that body, whether it's a committee or the full board. But that isn't always honored sometimes if you know that we want it on a specific time frame for other reasons, as long as there is a date certain. Again, it needs a second and it is debatable. Are there any questions on those? The other thing to keep in mind is that motions have a hierarchy. Like we talked about, the point of order can interrupt. So no matter what's happening on the floor, if you have a point of order, you can interrupt what's going on. A point of privilege, let's say there's noise coming from the hallway and you're not able to hear the debate. That would be a point of privilege. We need to take care of this issue right here. And there's also a point of information. So if you are not understanding information and you want someone to clarify their motion or the information they provided, point of information, again, those three things can interrupt. And I'm trying to come up with sort of a cheat sheet on motions so that people will be able to look. And I haven't found one that I really like, but my intention is to eventually have them laminated and just hand it out so you can kind of have that pocket cheat sheet. But that was the extent of my presentation. And if you have any questions, yes.
You just go back, I think you said committees can't kill a resolution, or they can't, what did you say?
Committees could not postpone indefinitely. So let's say the county board referred to, let's take the general government committee.
Oh, I see what you mean.
And they've been asked to talk about the Clam Falls Dam and address a resolution. The committee could not move to postpone indefinitely, only the county. Any other questions? Thank you.
Next item is update on the architectural and engineering firms for general government remodel. We had a long, lengthy meeting last week in general government. I don't know who wants to do this update on this. Russ is the chair of general government. You.
Just a brief what we did.
Sure.
Met with 4 firms. Actually, more than that, I think, bid on it. But we picked 4 to meet with. We rated them on a sheet on a scale of, I think, 1 to 10 during their presentations. And then we met, and the firm the committee is recommending rated the highest, and it was the low bidder. We have a firm that we're recommending to go with.
Vince, you want to give us?
I would just, the name of the company is LHB. They're located in both Wisconsin and Minnesota, Superior and Duluth. Then they're in Minneapolis and Cambridge. As Mr. Arkan said, they did rate the highest of the scoring, which was good. And then when we looked at their bid, they were the lowest bid. They were a larger organization, which had a lot of different experts, and we felt could cover all of the important parts. They bid on the mechanical separately. They bid on the remodel separately. Not that we're going to do it, but just said, let's look at it in case we want to now or in the future. Then they looked at what would we do to combine it. Everyone that came in and said, you know, if we're going to bid on this, we really recommend you do both at the same time so that we can look for efficiencies and savings when they tear up a portion of the building. It's like you might as well, you know, look at what would it cost to So the consensus was made with that group, and they'll be looking at the architecture and engineering.
Mister, is there any action that we have to take?
No.
Not on that?
No, this is a committee of the whole type discussion. We agreed that we want everybody involved in this. No decisions have been made other than the firm that's going to do the architecture and engineering.
Did we need to correctly at some point do a budget amendment? Allocate the monies to hire the firm to do that?
So the committee directed me to draft a budgetary amendment for general government for April, which will then come to the county board as a whole. This money, although in the budget, you appropriated 5.9 million in potential borrowing, meaning there's room there to borrow. The intent of this would not be to borrow, but to use the fund balance to pay for through a budgetary amendment. And then if you chose to proceed with the project, you would borrow and pay back the fund balance.
What's the next step then?
Sorry?
The next step, what's in the process?
They will go through and put together their plan, work with us.
I think she's talking about the resolution with Chad.
So I'll present the budget resolution to general government at the April meeting, and then that will come to the county board in April. Once that budgeted money is approved, then administration can move with hiring the firm. But until the money is approved, we can't do a hire.
One of the things I would add to that too, I'm on general government. And I think our group asked a lot of good questions. Most of the group rated them. I don't know if every supervisor rated them or not. But most of us rated the firm and we all were kind of in agreement. And I know one of the things that I liked about, you know, the architectural engineering together, the company that we proposed has everything in-house. A couple of the companies had outside engineering firms. Two of the companies that came down to the final two both had in-house engineering and electrical engineering. And that the idea that we would have a little control over the scope of the project. They basically said too, is that we think we're over budgeted right now for the project. And that they would work with our county board and develop the scope of work that needs to be done, is whether or not we remodel this bathroom, whether we remodel this room, whether we change a wall. And I think again, this will be a process we'll keep in committee of the whole. So everyone will understand, get the presentations, you know, where's the project going? What's the final budget amount? So we actually will approve a budget for the construction at some point, or a construction manager to help with the construction project. But, you know, right now we're just approving for all the engineering on all the electrical, the plumbing, the mechanical upgrades that need to be done. And then along with that, what the scope of work would look like if we're busting out walls and busting out ceilings. Do we make changes to the design of the building? Would also be in the plan. And we'd have those documents then to work with the construction manager or a contractor. They all recommended, all of them except one, is that we would want to basically get on board a construction manager before we got to the point of sending the project out to bid to work with us on developing a scope of work. So there will be a lot more steps, but right now it's just saying, let's start getting the design so we can actually get firm numbers on the project. And it's going to take a few months to work through that. And it will stay in general government. So anyone that wants to know the details can certainly watch general government or show up at our meetings. Fran?
Just wanted to make a quick comment that sometimes in general government, like other committees, that everybody agrees on everything and sees everything the same way. But I think it's pretty safe to say that on this particular subject and on interviewing the four that we interviewed, that it was really a broad consensus amongst all the members. Right away, we all came out and liked the same firm.
Yeah, Fran and I were pretty happy that we both agreed on something.
They're gonna like high five each other.
Yes.
We didn't.
Yeah, yeah, we were pretty proud of that. It was a good moment.
Now all warm and fuzzy with you.
Yeah, that was good.
The other thing that I found interesting is all of the firms that were interviewed felt that they could come in significantly under budget, what was originally laid out. And that, from a financial standpoint, that was certainly encouraging to hear that they all agreed that could be a lesser total dollar investment.
So that's our update. Stay tuned. We'll have more coming. Do we have a motion to adjourn the committee of the whole?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Got a second by Jay. All in favor? Aye. Carried. So now I would accept the motion as discussed about a general government resolution for the Lamb Falls Dam, if someone wants to make that.
Chair.
Yeah, Supervisor John.
I would move that we draft our corporate council draft a letter of support for the Lamb Falls Dam to move on to our legislature.
Through the general government with a resolution.
Correct. Yeah.
We have a second by Jay. Any other discussion about that, Russ?
Just before we vote, I would call for a roll call vote, and we'll be able to gauge even the interest of taking it that far.
Sure.
So, I mean, even if it passes, we'll still have a gauge. So if we could get a roll call vote when we vote on the motion.
And Doug, I know Kim's just doing the thumbs up, thumbs down, but Doug, do you have anything, comments? I haven't asked.
No, I'm following what's going on here.
Okay. Kim, you're good so far?
Yes.
All right. So we have a roll call vote.
All right. So. Dan Rupp this time.
Yes.
Mike Pritchard.
No.
Karen Kelly.
Yes.
Tim O'Connell. Amy Middleton. Jay Luke.
Yes.
Kristen Duncanson.
No.
Russ Arkan.
Oh,
John Bonneprice.
Yes.
Lou Demmeling.
Yeah.
Brad Olson.
Yes.
Doug Rowdy.
No.
Steve Morndall.
Yes.
Tracy LeBlanc. We have 10 yeses, 4 noes.
I'll vote yes. Carried. So general government will get that. And we'll have it back on the committee of the whole next month. That was 16. So we're at discussion and possible action of standing committee agenda items and proposed resolution. Ordinance acted by standing committee. Executive committee, 17A, resolution number 07-21, implementing a county ethics policy for appointed officials to standing and ad hoc committee and boards. Wants to talk about that?
made a motion to approve.
Got a second? Olson. Further discussion? Fran?
A couple of questions for clarification. Does this apply to the county board as well, or?
This was drafted just for appointed officials and those appointed officials that are not also employees. Like I'm an appointed official, the administrator appoints corporate counsel. So we wanted to make it clear that it was, out, and when you appoint officials to outside entities. So no, it would not apply to county board supervisors themselves because that is already addressed in.
Anyone else? Okay, Supervisor Duncanson, another one?
Just as clarification of the definition of privileged information. So I am going to guess it's safe to say if something is discussed in an open session in a meeting that it is not privileged information.
Yes.
Privileged information, does that include private conversations, or is privileged information only reference items that are discussed in a closed session of the governing body?
I think primarily it would be closed session, but if they became privy to a conversation between council, but again, these are appointed officials.
Understand.
So that, the chances of them participating in those conversations would be slim to none.
And this is the only question.
Joe, you had a question? Oh, no?
I just pointed at her.
Oh, gotcha. Supervisor Pritchard?
I'd ask, Leah, were you the drafter of this?
The primary drafter was Mr. Roberts.
Was there any consideration of writing in anything about standards of conduct? I think it talks about conflicts of interest in some depth and seems to cover that well. But was there any consideration given to writing in anything but for standards of conduct?
So we evaluated existing policies that pertain to appointed officials from similar counties. Our template counties where we found standing policies were St. Croix, Kenosha, and Dunn. I'm having to get back my memory here, not having it in front of me. And we went from there. In those, we didn't see areas like that in there. We tried to address common standing areas when we drafted our resolution.
Does our employee code have anything about standards of conduct for employees?
Our employee code refers directly to Wisconsin statutes regarding ethics and behavior within the Wisconsin statute.
The statute. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
But the statute does not apply to appointed officials, or?
Malia would have to answer that.
The statute does apply. It's a different subsection, but it's nearly identical language.
Does that have standards of conduct?
I'm unsure of what you mean by standard of conduct.
I'd say statute 19.59.
Yes, sir. That's the one.
So you have it in here in 53 through 56 on the next page. It's in here.
Wisconsin municipalities. 19.59 stats prohibits the following conduct. Use of office for private gain. Officials. Use substantial value for themselves.
All right, since, can you shut the phone off? Who's got the phone on? Mike, was that you? Mike, you cannot turn your phone on and do that during a county board meeting.
Call the question.
Yeah, question's been called. All right. All in favor of resolution 721, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign. Carried unanimous. General government, resolution number 1021, allocation of net proceeds of line quarry fund.
Why is this on here?
Yeah, why is this one on here? Well, and Corporation Council just asked, Sheriff, do you want to do yours first if there's consensus? Or do you feel like sitting through this debate?
I'm fine to sit through this.
Okay. So resolution 1021, who wants to speak to that? Or I guess we need a motion to put it on the floor so we can have a discussion. Supervisor Olson, second by Arcan. Discussion. Fran?
I would like to amend this resolution that $500,000 of this be put in the unassigned fund balance, and that it would decrease the amount going to trails by $500,000.
So can you give me the specific language? Is that it? And where would you insert that in the resolution?
I would insert that. Line 36. Um, 1.32 million.
Yeah.
down to 620,000.
That's 700,000.
If they want 200,000 to spend right away, and I'm not handing that $200,000 figure, although at some point I do have some questions about it, but
Yeah, just the specific amendment that you want insert is what we're looking for.
the line 36, the remaining balance, $620,000 from the sale and closing of library. They'll be placed in the general fund for assigned balance, blah, 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 trail system. And $500,000 will be allocated to the undesignated general fund balance.
So, Mr. Chair, I need to provide a point of clarification on this resolution. The total fund balance of the 602 fund, the Lime Quarry Fund, is going to be approximately 1.520 million. That's low balling, but we've got some costs coming out, so that low ball's good. It's right at 1.579 million right now, I believe. There's some costs coming out. So this resolution's total is 1.520 million. The 200,000 is already deducted in line 31 before you get to line 36.
Oh, okay, so we understand Supervisor is Duncanson is making a motion to basically take $500,000 of this fund balance from the lime quarry, and you want to put it into
An undesignated general fund balance.
undesignated fund balance. We have a
I would second that, Mr.
second
Chair.
that for discussion. Okay, got a first and a second. We can discuss it. Joe?
Okay, one thing I would like to see done too is having some money set aside for the fair.
Point of order.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not part of this. Okay, any other questions? Supervisor Warndall?
Well, I like this idea because, trails aren't our biggest problem in the county. We got this meth problem that we're dealing with, 361 felony arrests in 1 year. It's nice to have an undesignated fund that we can go to should we want to try and do something about a large problem like that in the county. So I like that, but it's not all just gone. There's some.
Sure. Supervisor Arcan?
We can actually do that at any time we choose. It would probably take a 2/3 vote. But to just put it in a undesignated, I mean, right now it's in an assigned balance. So it's not gonna get spent unless it's on trails. And if we choose at any point to do something, whether it's with meth, whether it's with the recycling center, whatever it is, all we need to do is bring it in a resolution and do it. I just don't think, I mean, we've already voted to put it all here. That vote has been done, and now we're just backpedaling. I disagree with it.
I'm sorry, I do need to add some clarity on the language we use here. So we have an unassigned fund balance, which is any money not so assigned by the board or designated by statute. Okay, we have an assigned fund balance, which is any money as assigned by the board for particular projects. And we have designated fund balances, which are fund balances assigned by statute or requirement, like our health fund and things like that. So the board has total control over the rules in play regarding unassigned and assigned fund balances. One thing you can't do is you can't take from a designated fund balance like the health fund and spend it over here because that's required. Once it's in there, it can't be spent elsewhere. But if you make assigned, it's either assigned or the whole pot of unassigned, which is what we look at for our savings. So we don't have a special unassigned. It's just either all assigned, all designated, or the remainder is just the general unassigned balance.
Chad, could you let us know currently what is the fund that Fran is proposing to put the money in? What is our balance of that fund right now?
Oh, you would ask me that. I can tell you the percentage is 50.1% of our budget.
Shoot from the hip. How many millions is that?
No, it's like 14 million. I think it's 13 or 14
So
million.
currently we have $14 million in that fund balance. And I don't want to get in a debate in this. If I have to, I'll get down and let John take over, but we had a motion like this in general government to put it into the recycling fund to work on the recycling center. And general government discussed at any time we need money, 2/3 of a vote, we can change our budget. We need money for meth. I'm all for meth. The trails were one of our, I'm all for fixing that. Sheriff, I do not, I've never tried. Okay, let's make the record straight. Yeah, sorry about that one. Okay. But yeah, I'm all for cracking down on this meth issue. I've been pushing that since I've been here, and I'm all for that. And I'll support anything and any funding it takes for meth. But I agree. The board has voted to make this trail fund. It was one of our top priorities as the county board. It's been on our top priority since I've been here for 6 years. And finally, we have an opportunity to actually put our money where our mouth is. Because the public, I mean, you talk about being in P-TAG. I mean, that is the number one issue right now with county taxpayers is our parks and trails. And what better way for our county kind of step up and finally say, we can spend the money on new paint, and I know Chad doesn't like me to use that terminology, but and that's great for a lot of people. But the taxpayers want to see us do something, make an investment, and we just sold an asset that some of us didn't want to even sell. We got an asset, why not put it back into an asset? And I mean, I completely support this resolution, and I'll just leave it at that. Any other discussion, Jay?
I just wanted to know, do we have any idea what the designation of the money is going to be for, or just give it to the Parks and Recreation and say, go spend it?
I don't think that's the intent of can someone talk about policy and what we're doing on how would this money be able to be ever spent?
The only thing that could be spent in fiscal year 21 would be this $200,000 line.
Right.
And that would be spent. So the way your amendment to the lime quarry sale reads is that money is spent in line with a comprehensive plan developed by the Environmental Services Committee. So that would be tied to that. Could not exceed $200,000 for 2021 unless you had a second budget amendment.
And I believe that 200,000 was budgeted for finishing the requirements by the DNR on the Stour Trail.
Well, this is a majority vote.
Yep.
That's 2/3.
That's 2/3.
We may need a point of order on, we have an amendment on the floor.
Oh, correct.
Should probably be.
We're working on the amendment.
Yeah, you're right.
Gotcha. So we're here to talk about the amendment, not about the whole resolution.
I wanted to just make a clarification why I seconded that, because the money that goes into the trail system from the sales, that we weren't proposed any kind of a budget or anything. And until that is done, I think this is a wise thing to do.
Yeah, so, yeah. Okay, we're gonna vote on the amendment to take 500,000 and put it in the big kitty, right? Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Doug.
I couldn't quite follow. Where were you saying we're gonna put the 500,000?
We're gonna put it into our general fund,
Go into the unassigned general fund.
which currently has about $13 million in it.
Okay, no, that's all right. Now I got it.
Okay, we've had had the question called, and we will do a roll call vote
On the amendment.
on the amendment.
Correct.
All right. Mike Pritchard,
Number one on every vote here.
no, Dan Hook was first last.
First the time before.
Mike, you called for the vote.
Didn't call for the roll
I
call.
call.
No, we called, it's your turn to vote.
Yes.
Kelly,
No.
Kim O'Connell,
No.
Amy Middleton, Jay Luke,
Yes.
Ken Duncanson,
Yes.
Russ Arkan,
No.
John Bonaprise,
Yes.
Joe Demmeling,
No.
Brad Olson,
No.
Doug Rowdy,
Yes.
Steve Wornall,
Yes.
Tracy LeBlanc, Dan Brooke.
No.
Seven yeses. Seven noes.
Yeah, so I would say no. So the motion is not supported. The amendment fails. Go back to the original resolution. Supervisor Arkan?
I would say that because we've already mostly discussed it, I would be ready to call the question.
You ready? Are you going to give anyone an opportunity or you call the question?
It's up to you.
Okay, the question's been called. We'll take a roll call vote on resolution number 11, 1021, allocation of proceeds of the Lime Quarry Fund. We'll do a roll call.
Sharon Kelly,
Yes.
Kim O'Connell. Amy Middleton. Luke,
Yes.
Ken Duncanson. Russ Arkan. John Bonaprise,
No.
Joe Demmeling,
Yes.
Brad Olson,
Yes.
Doug Rowdy,
Yes.
Steve Wornall,
Yes.
Tracy LeBlanc, Dan Rook,
Yes.
Mike Pritchard,
Yes.
Last night.
Vote yes.
we have 13 yes votes.
Carried. Public Safety, Public Works Resolution 11.
Yeah, put it down low. Yeah.
Public Safety, Public Works Committee Resolution 1121, resolution accepting donation of safety equipment from Kerry Sheriff. Do we want to make a motion and then a second so we can discuss? Jay made the motion. Second. Sheriff, we'd love to hear what we got going on.
Yeah, it was a donation by Terry Lattery in the amount of $1,500, and he purchased us. It's called a plate carrier. It's additional coverage that a deputy could put over his uniform if him or her was going to a hostile type call, a gun type call. So those were purchased just out of support for the sheriff's office and support for this community.
Thank you. Any questions for the sheriff?
How many would you be purchasing?
Four.
Four of them.
Steve, and they will stop a high power drive. So there, you put it on, you know, you got something on.
That's heavy.
It sure is nice that we're getting these kind of routinely where people are donating to the sheriff's department. I just gotta say hats off to all the people that are doing this. All right, we'll take a roll call vote. All in favor by saying aye?
Aye.
Carried.
That'd be the same thing as Clint Eastwood's,
Supervisors' announcements from outside meetings. I know one that I would like for us to get an update would be if the chair of the PTAG could definitely start us off with what we've been doing on PTAG, because we've heard some comments about what are we doing on our trails.
Yeah, so PTAG met last night. We took 1 month off to let staff get caught up. We're in the process of working on getting our RFP out there for a comprehensive trail network plan. This is kind of the plan that we've talked about where we can look at all the users, all the trails that we have, what assets do we need, what gaps need to be filled, what connections need to happen. And so committee met last night and or Monday. And we have some really passionate people that are keeping us on task, goosing us, keeping us moving. And I really like that about this group. And so at our next meeting, we are hoping that we will have the RFPs in front of us, and we'll meet 1 week after that to decide who we're going to hire, because we're going to go through basically the same process you guys did for the building. We're going to rank them and see where everybody ends up. So hopefully, let's see, not quite by the next meeting, but very soon, for sure, the next board meeting, I'll be able to report that we've hired a consulting firm to start this planning process. So it's very exciting, and we have some hard driving people, so it's good. And I'm hoping that this next, we'll really get some stuff going. I think people felt like we've had to kind of do all the startup stuff, and it's been a little bit frustrating and boring and felt bureaucratic, but kind of got through that, and now we're kind of rolling. So
Thank you. Any other supervisors? Doug, do you have anything new on your ATV, UTV stuff?
Well, I can say we had a really interesting meeting because the recreation officer came in and spoke. And well, we learned a lot because he's a full-time recreation officer. Then he's, if the sheriff's still sitting there, 75 or 80% funded by the state. Then he also has a snowmobile and a UTV and a boat. And the state is granting those, and he's upgrading his UTV to more, I guess, a nicer model. So it was just a really good update. And at some point, maybe we should have him come and talk to the full board, because it's a new position and it's working out very well. That's about it.
Any other supervisors from outside committee? Sharon? Or excuse me, Sharon, I was looking at Tracy, I'm sorry.
I did attend 2 Lake District meetings, the Horseshoe Lake meeting and the Lake Magner District. The Lake Magner District is currently going through a public hearing process for their lake management plan. And I also attended the Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission last Friday. Just to name a couple of things that were discussed, there's a 2% increase on the fee for the counties that was approved. So that'll be coming to the counties. And there also was a resolution in recognition and appreciation of Joe for his years of service on the Planning Commission.
Thanks, Joe. Oh, is that good?
Ain't that bad after all.
A long time since someone's gotten applause. Sharon.
I will give you an update on the museum. I've been over there working with Leslie and some of the others on the board, just getting the museum is going to open. I mean, our plan now, we've got a date set, May, I forget what off the top of my head, but and then as we get through that opening process, then we'd like to get a time set up so that Leslie could come in and do like a 10-minute update for the board. So they start to get, I think it'll be good for everybody to get an understanding of what they do over there. I mean, I'd never been in the museum before. It's it's huge, but they're doing a really nice job getting it set up for opening. And they've got their plan for how they're going to get people through so it's safe and everything. So I think it's going really well. It's been really good having Leslie there because she's accomplishing a lot. So that's been.
It'd be really fun to have Leslie give us instead of her just doing a talking thing, could she do a video walk, like 3-minute walkthrough type of thing? That'd be kind of fun to.
Yeah.
Show what it is.
Yeah, some of the exhibits have, like we worked on one exhibit last Friday. We spent the day working on it. But, it had, it's called the Shell, CHELL. It's the family donated a whole bunch of things, pretty old things. But instead of just having Shell stuff in there, there was the Shell baby cradle, but there was 3 other cradles in there too. And there's 2 rocking chairs, and, you know, all these things. So we got it cleaned out and then put it back together again, nice. So it would, so you could actually see what you were looking at. They had a letter, the family's son was in World War I, and they had the actual letter along with a picture of him in his uniform and the letter from his commanding officer because he died in the war. And had that, I mean, it was just so, you know, it's just interesting. You could spend the, just looking, much less moving things around. So it's kind of fun.
John, could you give us an update? And I gotta say one thing, I mean, I might be the only one to applaud for you, John, but I couldn't do this job without John and what he does as the vice chair of this board. And I can tell you what, he spends a lot of time. And I appreciate it, John, very, very much. And can you give us an update on, I know you got a lot going on this month.
The whole thing in participating in this is you gotta be at the table. As Polk County, if we aren't at the table, we don't get any recognition in grants or anything that happens. And it's all 72 counties. I've participated live from Arizona on the 5th and 11th. And now Thursday and Friday, the 18th and 19th, I'll be up here and I'll either be here or in Chris's office. Friday is the main topic and the only topic is Health and Human Services. And we'll have all the COVID updates and everything. And the biggest thing that I want to report on and took the notes, and I told Chris, I called him right away and I said, I got a page here of notes that you and I are going to have to sit down. And so the first thing we did, half of the meeting on the 5th was on the governor's legislative budget. And of course, the governor is basically, it's a wish list because we got a Democratic governor and the Republican majority in Senate and the Assembly. But besides that, they have to act on every single one of his proposals. And there's a lot of things that are very beneficial to Polk County. I called Tanya right away and told her about some of the increases, and it's very beneficial to Polk County. So I've got notes on all of them. The other half of that meeting was actually spent on CAFO. The Counties Association, someone proposed a 2-year moratorium. It was basically after the Bayfield pilot, and they had proposed 2-year moratorium. About an hour and a half discussion on that, and that did not pass. There was a lot of speakers from the county that said, hey, we cannot control our CAFO counties. See, if you had a, I think they made, well, this guy's got a herd of 891 cows. And the farmers, and they work on so many resolutions. And DACAP and everybody spoke up, and there was representatives that said, hey, we already got this controlled and that controlled. So that will come to the legislature without a recommendation. So, but the biggest thing that I took out of both meetings and the data that we have, we're working so hard in human services on water quality. And the biggest thing that came up, incident, we have an application in now for a grant for next year for water quality in Polk County. And there's 3, currently right now, there has been 3 grants awarded that are just about wound up. And St. Croix County is one of them. And being, you know, a neighbor, when St. Croix County's report comes out, that's going to determine a lot how we're sitting here in Polk County. The biggest thing and just an alarming thing that came out, Iowa County, Grant County, 3 counties, I think the other one was Dane Madison County. They found out through their grant of research that the biggest contributor to water quality right now is human waste. Your people are moving out of the cities, they're moving out of the out in the country. When you see a pumper truck that, pumps, lake, places and everything like mine, that right now, that's distributed out in the fields, and we're gonna see big changes coming where, they said, hey, it's not farmers runoff. And this is, proven right down here, our Horse Creek, watershed, Lake Wampacasset watershed. And the change is what we gotta be looking at, aware of, is real human waste that's affecting our water quality. Not the farmers and the runoff and the fertilizers and things. Those are, Doug, you know how the advancement has been made, and that's pretty much all eliminated. We eliminated atrazine and just about everything. Our highway department, our chemicals and things, a lot of that is now coming from soybean emulsion and environmental friendly. So things have changed, and that's the biggest thing I wanted to bring up.
Thank you, John. Fran?
I just had a quick update. I attended Emery Lakes meetings and North Twin and Pike Lake. Again, thousands of them. Also, they have some speed issues in the area that goes, they call it the narrows, that goes in between the two lakes. And the sheriff was kind enough to refer me to the recreation officer about perhaps some visible enforcement or presence there.
Thank you, Fran. Anyone else? Supervisors outside meetings? Mike, you got anything? Doug? Oh, you already talked? Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Got a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second? All right. Joe, all in favor?
Aye.
It's Thursday will be on highway.